All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Live. Got my man Jonathan over here, and on the other end we have Mike Malone from Lake of the Ozarks area. So, Mike, it's good to see you. Thanks for spending some time with us. So, what's going on with you?
Hey, absolutely. And guys, thanks a lot for the invite. Very excited to come on and talk a little bit about fall fishing and that transition into wintertime that we all kind of look forward to in the Midwest for a variety of reasons. Right now the lake is just I fished last Friday and I was in the upper Osage River, but the water temp when I put in was 59 degrees. And it had warmed up to about 65 by the end of the day. But that's getting, with these cool nights we're seeing and this cold rain, that water temp's going to be dropping, pretty quick. And that's a good thing for fall fishing, in my opinion.
100%, 100%. Talk about that cold rain. Did you guys get hit with any of that storm activity yesterday afternoon and into the evening?
Heavy wind. Fortunately, no tornadic activity that I'm aware of, but it easily could have been. Where I live, there's a couple of big, huge, giant trees that got blown down on a golf course. But other than that, I haven't really heard that there were any injuries or property destruction here at the lake.
Gotcha. We had some, I don't know about local. I wasn't local today. I went south. I'm a traveling sales guy. So I was south most of the day of our area. But I see Philip asked if we had any, or that everyone was okay last night with all the tornadoes that were around our area. Within about, 40 miles, we probably had
three or four
tornadoes last night.
Yeah.
We had one that was just to our northwest. And I got a text from one of my previous coworkers this morning that his neighbor's 2-story house is now a 1-story house.
Jeez. Oh, good Lord.
And fortunately, his house was spared. It looked like the tornado jumped his house and hit 2 of his neighbors' places.
But was that in Fredericktown or not?
He's just outside of Farmington.
Okay.
So, but that same cell that hit Fredericktown, and then we had one go through just about 30 minutes north of us. And then that one last night, I don't know if you were awake yet or not, but we ventured to the basement last night.
Yeah, we went in the basement about 11 o'clock, 11:15. My wife's really proactive. She gets to watching the weatherman, and she's in the basement. Mm-hmm. So we were all down here huddled in the basement for, I don't know, about 20, 30 minutes. And just, you got to be safe. You never know.
That one came on quick too, because I was still up watching some of it, and it hit. I guess they started talking about 11:15, and then all of a sudden, when I live out in the country a pretty good ways, and when I hear the sirens going off in my neck of the woods, it's what's going to hit the fan, and you better
get to moving. Yep, I heard that.
But you talk about your lab. I got a 100-pound lab at my house, and she's old. She's about 12 and a half now. And she doesn't do stairs very well.
Yeah. So
I had to manhandle her down the stairs. I kind of drug her over to the basement stairs. She didn't want to go. She just wanted to go back to bed. And
yeah, of course.
Toted her butt downstairs, so I didn't have to go outside with her. So.
Yep, I heard that. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't think that we had the activity that y'all had. So,
thank goodness.
Just glad everybody was safe.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me give a shout out to everybody that's on here real quick. And by the way, the giveaway winners from the last couple shows, I got all that in the mail, so it's going to be coming your way. And we're going to do another giveaway tonight. So you folks that are new on here and don't know how it works, you'll figure it out. We'll just put it that way. You'll know all of a sudden everybody's going to start.
We can say what it is, can't we?
Yeah, we can say what it is, I guess. So we do something called Sasquatch Giveaway, right? So when you hear a reference to Sasquatch, guess a number between 1 and 200, and we're going to have a prize package. We're going to have some Cumberland Pro stuff. We're going to have some Hawgz Custom Baits, and we got some Stash Jigs. Star. I always say Stash. I don't know why. It's Star Jigs from Allen. So we're going to throw some of those in there. It's going to be a nice little package, but just listen for the magic word, and you guys know what to do. Number between 1 and 200. We got Stephanie on here, which Stephanie, Mike, if you don't know, Stephanie's won like 3 of the last 7 giveaways. I don't know. She's got the magic touch. So
she's going for 4.
She's going for 4. I can
tell you. Absolutely. Well, good luck, Stephanie.
We almost cut her off last time, but no, we're gonna let it ride. We got Phil on here. What's up, Phil? Stephanie, Andy, Cody's on here. What's up, bud? Eric. Speaking of Hawgz Custom Baits, there's Eric. Got Evan Singer. Good to see you on here, man. Darius is here. Who else we got in here? Got Phil. Yeah, Phil, I got your lure retrievers, Phil. Phil sent us a couple pretty cool lure retrievers. You can pull those.
I gotta check these out. You didn't tell me this.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. I just got them in the mail today when I got home from work, and haven't really had a chance to look at them too much. William's on here. Good to see you, William. Phil said the tornado missed his place by 2 miles. Yeah, I was talking to Doug Cheatham today, and he lives in Cherokee Pass, which is close to Fredericktown, and that's where one of the tornadoes came through. And he said it was a mess down there. He was kind of driving around looking stuff. I think his daughter's house got hit. So thoughts and prayers to everybody that suffered losses. And thankfully, there was no casualties. And I think minor injuries, which is amazing. That always amazes me when you see all that destruction that nobody was killed. Let's see. Tim Hahn's in here. Good deal. All right. So, Mike, where are you from? I know where you live, but where'd you grow up? And just kind of give us a little bit of your back history.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a small town in southern Missouri, Salem, Missouri. Grew up outside of Salem and went to high school, grade school there. Went to the University of Missouri in Columbia, graduated from there. And I've kind of worked really all over, lived in Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and then recently moved back to the lake about 23 years ago and haven't left. So kind of gives you an idea.
Not a bad place to be for 23 years.
Well, I was a sales guy too, financially in the mortgage business. And so I traveled a great deal, and I could fly out of St. Louis or Kansas City. And that was just a price you had to pay for living down here. I was willing to make a 2-hour commute to get to an airport. So, nowadays you don't have to. Everything is Zoom, and you just stay home. And
I don't like it. I can tell you that. I guess I'm old school. I like face-to-face interactions. I like talking to people, shaking people's hands. So it makes definitely doing business a lot different. So
I've got something on the screen from a good friend of mine, Tiffany Velasquez, her son Gunner, and I taken him fishing several times. And she says, "Hey, Mike, tornado 7 miles from our house last night. We're safe, but the guys want to see Brody. Brody's my lab.
Brody's a chocolate lab.
Brody's passed out on the floor, unfortunately.
If you
I can't lift him up.
If you saw the Facebook or Instagram posts of Mike and the pup, that's Brody. So here's Ken. Ken, what's up, Ken? We were just talking about you before we went live. We were talking about every once in a while we have a viewer that's out fishing, and we were talking about you fishing the tournament while you were checking out the live stream. I think you did that a couple weeks in a row, which is pretty cool. Salem, Missouri. We're very, very familiar with Salem, Missouri. We go to Montauk, annually. And,
absolutely.
We always stop at Salem and go into the Walmart and get our weekend supplies there at the Salem Walmart.
This is the first year in like 25 years that I did not make a trip.
Really?
Yeah. I know the year's not over yet, and the fishing's getting really good down there right now. And we're not a fly fishing trout stream, but this is the first time.
Well, we need to make that happen. I like to go down there in the winter when there's not as many people there. It's my favorite time to be in the park.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful area.
Do you do a lot of trout fishing?
You know what? I grew up doing it, but no, not anymore. And we really didn't fish in the park that much. We fished below it. And I've caught a couple of browns in the 10-pound range down there as I was growing up. But, you know, with live bait, we use big minnows and fish deep holes and, you know, log jams and stuff. You know, a lot of fun. But I love fly fishing. I've done that several times out west in Utah and in Colorado, but not around here, not too much.
Yeah, that's pretty well all that Gabe and I, when we go down to Montauk, I grew up, you know, the old bait and fishing in the park, but once I got a little more, you know, years under my belt, it was venturing out and fly fishing. I still enjoy going up and taking the kids to the bait hole and, you know, watching them experience the same things that I did growing up. So that was fun, but
we kind of gravitated from power bait, and then we would throw like the 32nd ounce marabou jigs on a spinning rod. And then we slowly started to get into fly fishing. You know, one thing I had to do was I had to leave my spinning rod at home because I would take my fly rod and I would take my spinning rod down there, and I'd break out the fly rod for a little bit, and it was just a disaster, you know, just a mess. I just didn't have any confidence. And then I go put it back in the tent, and then I grab my spinning rod and
back out to Old Faithful, right?
Yeah, and eventually I had to just take the fly rod and force myself to learn it. And sometimes that's what you got to do with any technique. Somebody wanted to see what the star jigs look like. So that is the star jig. It's a pretty cool little jig. It's got a flat head there. Yeah. Flat head. It's it's round silicone and flat silicone kind of mixed in there. It's got
the big eyes.
Yeah, big eyes. This is really flat right here. And it's got an interesting hook. It's kind of an EWG style hook, but it doesn't come back in. You still got pretty good clearance from the hook eye to the hook point. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to show this stuff, but you can see there's still pretty good, you know, clearance. If you got an EWG with a real big, maybe that helps a little bit. Right, there we go. Yeah. See, we've been doing this for a while, Mike, and I still don't have this camera thing figured out.
You got it.
Yeah, you got pretty good point. Pretty good clearance from the hook eye.
And that it doesn't point right back at the hook eye.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. With a lot of EWGs are really tilted in towards the eye.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like that on a jig, but
no, I don't either.
Pretty good jigs. I haven't fished them yet. He was nice enough to send some of these for the giveaways, and he's a local guy. He makes them himself. He's got his own mode, but www.star/jigs.com. And he is from, where's he from? Where's that box at? I can tell you where he's from. Well, I think it's somewhere in Missouri. I apologize. A little bit disorganized.
I like the skirts though on them because it is a fairly full skirt. It's a full size jig. There's nothing finesse about it. So if you guys like a full size jig, check them out.
Yeah, he sent all half ounce. So whoever wins the giveaway, those are half ounce jigs. So I always like supporting the smaller companies personally. You know, I mean, I buy my share of bigger company stuff, but it's nice when somebody's making something, you know, just kind of out of their house or something. It's just good to get their name out there.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Let me check these comments, get caught up on them, and we'll dive into something else here.
So your water temperature really dropped down there over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is on the lower end of the lake. I was at about the 70-mile marker, and that water it warms faster and cools faster.
Okay.
And so I'm going to guess down here that the water temp probably this weekend was in the low 70s, high 60s. That's I'm guessing, but I think that'd be pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, Chuck, the head is lead on this. What's up, John? Good to see you in here from Eldon. So you fished the Warrior William tournament. Was it 2 weeks ago? You guys fished that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And you guys had a really good finish. Did you end up winning that?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. So Talk a little bit about that. How do you? I'm always curious about how people approach a tournament and how the tournament goes. And did it go like you thought it would, or did you have to make some adjustments? Or
No, absolutely not. I got to get out Thursday before the tournament and do some pre-fishing and had a really, really good day. Had 20 plus pounds and caught most of them on a buzzbait, a Tackle HD black on black buzzbait. It was just phenomenal, the bites that I was getting. And it was all shad related. And tournament day, we get to the first place that I'd caught them really good. Well, the shad weren't active. And we caught like two dinks, two throwbacks, and they were not on a buzzbait. We never caught a fish in the tournament on what I'd caught them on Thursday. Wound up another key area that I'd found that I fish in the spring and in the fall, and it's a good sized cove, but the thing it has over and above most of the other coves in that upper stretch of the lake is it's been dredged. So there's 8-9 feet all the way from front to back. And those big fish, they require that. They want deep water close by. So we got in there and still couldn't get a bite on a buzzbait, but I throw a little crankbait, a little 6 cents crankbait, and a lot, caught a ton of big fish on it. And first fish I caught was 4.5 that day on it. And so from then on, that's all I threw. The guy I fished with, he flipped a white tube behind me for fish that wouldn't attack the crankbait. He was catching on the tube, so it was a great 1-2 punch. And I think we boated 11 or 12 keepers, I'd say, pretty easily. And had one, it didn't weigh 5, it weighed 415. And then we had a couple in that 4.5 pound range. So we had some really good quality. Fun day.
So one thing that's interesting to me is hearing how you made that decision to make that switch. It sounds like it was a pretty easy switch from that buzzbait to your deeper water cove crankbait and the white tube. How long did you give that buzzbait?
Probably an hour and a half, prime time. When it's still, there's still darkness on at least half of the cove, from the sun not hitting it yet. That's when you ought to get clocked on that buzzbait. And once that time went, I knew that wasn't going to work. Got to put it away, even though I caught all those great fish on it 2 days earlier. Doesn't matter. They're not biting it today. And, that's one, I think, common mistake that guys really make. And they get locked in and they can't change. And the guys that make their living fishing, there's a reason they got 8 or 10 rods out on the front of their boat, because they're constantly in a search mode. Whatever's working, they ride it. When that quits, they do something else. And I'm guilty of staying too long on a spot, or, throwing the same bait over and over with no results. But you got to force yourself to change. I knew that buzzbait topwater was not going to work, and it didn't. So put it up and went to town with that 6 cents crankbait.
Mm-hmm. So, on that crankbait you're talking about, that's a crankbait you've had a lot of history with in the past, got a lot of confidence. Do you typically throw a smaller crankbait in the fall, or do you have any guidelines on what crankbait to pick up?
So this is not a square bill, and I didn't bring one upstairs from my boat garage, but you can go on the 6 Cents website and look at it. It's called The Movement, and it's not a wake bait, but close. It gets about 2.5 foot deep, and I throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. So it gets down about 2 foot. And those big fish, they're right under that encapsulation. they're feeding on bluegill and shad right there. And I think in that tournament, I saw virtually every fish that bit that, I saw them bite it, because all right at the end of the boat dock, I just seen them come out, flare their gills, and have it.
So, were you making contact with that 6 Sense movement with anything?
No,
Okay,
no, just pretty hard retrieve.
gotcha. Imposing the action with the speed of the retrieve.
Yeah, well, the thing about this bait, square bills have got a real tight wiggle to them. This has got a wide, and it comes through the water just like that. And I've caught so many big fish on it, I know they'll bite it if I can get it in front of one.
Now that movement, that's the one that's kind of got the arched back.
Yep.
Different profile, right?
That's it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate to say that. Because that's kind of like a little secret that you like to keep. But if it helps somebody catch a big one, go for it.
That's what we do on the live stream. We kind of let a little bit out here and there. Just little nuggets here, little nuggets there.
Well, I mean, only 52 people heard that right now.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, I know Scott at 6 Sense, and that's a great company, by the way. And it's all about the fishermen, and their products are great. And I've been using them for several years, particularly that movement bait. It's and their square bill.
So is that something when you're throwing a buzz bait and you can't get fish to commit, and you know they're in an area, do you go to that buzz bait or to that crankbait next? Is that your next choice?
So here's your options for me. What my options would be, okay, so they're not biting what they were. I'm pretty sure they're still around. Do I want to flip something and take 10 minutes on every dock, or do I want to move and cover water and go fast? And I usually opt to go fast because I know they're going to bite that bait.
Mm-hmm. So
I just got that much confidence in it.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because I found that I found that before too, where they won't come up. You know, you're going right over them or right around them. They won't come up and hit something on the top. But if you get something down there just a little bit closer to them, they'll commit to it.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, I don't know what triggers that change, because it was same conditions, same water level, same everything. And, you know, they're living organisms, and they're subject to change at any second.
That's why they call it fishing, not catching.
Yep. I do a lot more fishing than I do catching. So
I'm still looking for a catching
you.
license.
Yeah, they don't sell that, do they? Yeah. So that's the same. You know, a lot of people would swim a jig maybe in that same scenario. Is that? I mean, would you swim a jig in that scenario, or is that something completely different?
No. I mean, I might do that. Like I said about the second dock that I fished with that movement bait, I caught a 4.5. So I wasn't swimming nothing except that the rest of the day. And that's what I did.
Amen.
But yeah, no, I swim a jig a lot. I just felt like that they wanted something aggressive. They were wanting to chase it.
Phil's got a question for you there. He says, Mike, is there a good ramp in Rainey Creek?
Well, here's another secret out. Yes, there is. Phil, right in the back, where the Redneck Yacht Club used to be, there's a really nice little boat ramp right there. And check your lake level before you go. That's a big mud flat back there. So if it's below 657.5, you're for sure going to need somebody with you, because you're going to have to back way out to float your boat off. But I put in there last week, and it was just a little under 658, and I didn't have any trouble. That's a good ramp.
Right.
Secret ramps. Those are a dime a dozen.
It's not secret. All of the locals know about it for sure.
Man, there was a lot of ramps this winter that you couldn't launch on, though.
Yeah. I live in the Four Seasons area, and we got about 10 boat ramps, and unfortunately, only one of them is a shallow water ramp. Rest of them, they gets down in that 658 below, you can't use them.
Chuck says the movement is a great crank. I've got a couple of those.
You know, I've had them in my hand like 6 or 8
Yeah.
times at the store, and I just keep putting them back. And
Yeah,
now you're just going to cost the bank account a little bit.
pick up a couple of them.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to throw them a little bit more. I was just talking with Ron DeRosa on the way home from work, and in our area, we don't have a true rock lake. We have a lot of our lakes around here have grass, so
Sure.
it's a little bit difficult. You can fish a crankbait out deep, and you can fish a crankbait on the outside grass line, but we don't just have. Well, let me take that back. We have some really shallow lakes that have rock, like Crab Orchard and Wren Lake, but they don't have those 45-degree banks that are rock, like you find at Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock and stuff. And that's one of the things. And docks. We have one lake with docks, but you can't fish within 10 feet of the docks. Unfortunately, that's just the lake rule. So you might as well say it doesn't have docks. But so docks and good solid rock transitions are what's lacking here in Southeast Missouri and Southern Illinois. Unfortunately,
I hear you.
And those folks in the Ozarks are probably saying that they wish they had hydrilla and milfoil
every once in a while.
You know, a field of that where they can go throw a frog across of it and have those explosions.
Well, I didn't ever, unfortunately, experience it, but this lake was full of milfoil, absolutely chocked full of it. The lower end, the gravois, and down to the dam was full of it.
We had Dion on about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we got onto that subject. Dion Hibden, and he was talking about the grass.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that.
His dad was talking about, you know, some of the biggest grass flats in places that you would never think there would ever be grass.
Yeah, I can't imagine how good the fishing was. It's already good, but you throw grass in the mix, and it had to be off the charts.
I'm sure it was unbelievable.
Chuck says try the swank as well.
I've got several of them. Yeah. Yep. That's a good suggestion.
Let's see here. Tim says he's not going to tell anybody about the boat ramp, so you're safe there.
Okay.
I'm just kind of scrolling through these questions to see if we have anything pertinent. Yeah, pertinent. Yeah. So here's a question from Stephanie. Stephanie always asks really good questions. When you practice for a tournament, have you found the fish are no longer in the areas where you found them? Let's see. When you practice for a tournament, have you found the fish are no longer in the areas where you found them? When I see guys practicing, I think they may not be there tomorrow. Every day is a new day. So I guess it's kind of about making adjustments. Like if you practice and you find fish in an area and they're not in that area, you know, what do you do then? How do you make that adjustment?
Well, you know, I think that, you know, there's several things. One, if just like what I was talking about with the buzzbait, I mean, you could have assumed there was no fish there, that they had left the area, but they really hadn't. They just weren't on the same bite that they were 2 days ago. So that's the first thing I do, is make sure I'm not leaving fish. Even though I didn't catch them the way I caught them in practice, I'm going to experiment before I take off. And then, you know, when I'm practicing, I like to try and have 2 or 3, maybe 4 areas where I could fall back on, where I might catch one. And it's, I'm telling you, it just changes quickly. This last BFL, that super tournament, I was sitting in 4th place on the first day with over 16 pounds, 17 pounds leading. And the second day, I had 3 fish that weighed 6 pounds. They just stopped. They were not biting. They hadn't left. They just were not biting. I couldn't make them bite. Couldn't figure it out. So that's always going to happen. And it's those guys that can make that quick decision and move from plan A to plan B and execute it. those are the guys that do well. And most of those guys are professionals, you know.
Yep. How'd your co-angler do on that first day?
I got to tell you, the guy was a great guy, and I was around big fish. I had 3 big fish in 20 minutes, and I was flipping them, and I wanted him to catch some, but the guy would not put down that whopper plopper, and he threw it all day, and he never had a bite. And I offered to give him back a worm that I was flipping. Tried to help him, but he liked to do what he was doing, so be it.
Well, I promise you, if I was in the back of your boat, or if I ever get in the back of your boat and you catch 3 big fish in 20 minutes and you offer me the worm that you're catching them on, that,
you're going to tie it on.
That whopper plopper will go right back in the box.
That's kind of what I thought too, but I was pretty shocked. He said, no, I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to catch a big one. So, you know, unfortunately for him, it didn't happen, but you know,
I think
a
lot of that co-angler, because we've both been co-anglers, that comes with experience, knowing when to not be hard-headed. And
well, you hear people say, put that plopper in your hand and throw it all day long, or put that buzzbait in your hand, throw it all day long. Don't put it down. You'll get 5 bites.
Yeah, but
sometimes you will. Sometimes you won't.
Yeah, you only hear about the good days with the plopper and the good days with the buzzbait. You don't hear about the days that you went 3 days in a row and you threw a whopper plopper for 3 days and you got 2 bites. Yeah. You don't hear about those. You just hear about the 25-pound bag that they caught on it on Tuesday before the tournament.
I just talked to a buddy of mine, Scott Hill, yesterday. Scott won the co-angler side of the Bass Master Open on Grand Lake.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to go down there in a couple of weeks. So I was kind of picking his brain. And, you know, he said, you know, it was amazing because the 3 guys I fished with, they threw whopper ploppers and buzzbaits, and they left the boat docks wide open. Well, Scott was flipping a little jig and catching really solid fish behind them that they were not even coming close to being able to get the bite. So that's a good example. I mean, that's where if I'd have been one of those guys in the front of the boat and somebody put 2 good fish in the boat behind me, I'd be kind of looking at what they're doing and thinking, you know, maybe I need to be looking at this.
Yeah, they got a lot more to lose than the guy in the back of the boat.
Sure.
Financially, at least.
Yep. But you know, I fished a lot of pro-ams and I've won several, and I always try to be a decent host of the guy in the back of the boat. And if I can help them catch fish, and I've done that several times, and a couple of times it hurt me, where I knew a specific dock had a good fish on it because I had them in practice and didn't catch them, just kind of moved them around, shook them off. And I let the co-angler have the first shot at it. And they caught them. So, you know, and they weren't big fish, but they were 3-pound fish. And I probably had one under 3 I could have culled. But I wanted those guys to have a good time too. And you know, it isn't all about me when I'm out there. I try to make it not like that. Sometimes you get overwhelmed and get, you know, in the heat of battle, and you move a little fast and don't give the person in the back enough time. But I try not to do that.
Well, that's really that's good. I mean, I understand, you know, you're doing your thing up on the front of the boat, and you know, a lot of times there's a certain way you have to approach the cover or the bank to keep the bait in the strike zone. So there's scenarios like that where it's hard on the guy in the back of the boat, but we really, you know, guys in the back of the boat really appreciate that stuff. And I know it doesn't happen all the time. I know there's sometimes when, you know, you can't do that, but whenever you can, it's really nice that the boater works with the co-angler, because I mean, it, like you said, it's more than just a tournament. It's also a day on the water, and it's, you know, you want to have good chemistry and you want to have a good day. I've had several boaters that have caught a limit, say on Kentucky Lake, fishing a ledge. They've caught a limit and there's still fish there, and they've said, we're not leaving until, you get your 5. And they'll actually stay there an extra 20, 30 minutes just so I can put 5 in the boat. That's happened before. And man, that's
what it's about.
It might only been 12 pounds, but that's huge for the co-angler. I mean, they had 20 pounds, I only had 12, but so what?
5 fish for the co-angler
is a big, big deal,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And that's, you create a good relationship that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's about what it's about. And I've made a lot of friends through the years through fishing, lots of them.
Tim, yes, I was talking about Lake of the Egypt. That's the lake that has the docks and you can't fish within 10 feet of them.
Wow.
And I don't know how that started, but it is what it is.
It's part of the HOA, so it's a private lake essentially.
Yeah.
And the homeowners don't want anybody fishing their docks.
But the grass on Egypt is very nice now. They had about 3 or 4 years where there was very little grass there, but it's starting to come back. And this year there's a lot of grass. So I'm anticipating that the fishing is just going to get better over the next couple of years, as long as the grass stays in the lake. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine if Ozarks had grass.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Those pleasure boaters.
Yeah, they wouldn't like that. But
they'd have hoop nets out there dragging that stuff out. Let's see. Okay, here's a question for you from Living Missouri Outdoors. It says, Mike, I have never fished above Hurricane Deck Bridge. When would be the best time to explore the upper section of the lake?
So 2 times that if I'm fishing tournaments, 2 times for sure that's where I'm going to be at. And it's just kind of winding down, but August, September, October, and November, and even into December, because I once that water gets really cold, there's a couple of those big creeks up there that are pretty clear, and I can wreck them on a jerkbait up there. So certainly the fall of the year, late summer, all the way up to probably into December. And then probably the best time to catch big fish up there is March, April, and May. I had one this past March that weighed almost 9 pounds up there. It was on a 6-inch square bill. And my first 3 fish that day, unfortunately, wasn't in a tournament. Weighed over 19 pounds with 3. And they were all big fish. Every one of them we caught that day were big. And I don't know why. I'm sure I could have gone back in a tournament the next day and it wouldn't have been the same. But so I fish rock in the spring and I fish boat docks in the fall.
Shallow. Okay, gotcha. Tim brings up an interesting point. We said thoughts and prayers about the tornado victims, and also we need to send thoughts and prayers to Aaron Martins and his family, because he's currently in the middle of a tough battle with cancer. And somebody had mentioned that he passed. He didn't pass. There was Brent Chapman and his wife did a little live stream on Facebook not too long ago, and they had just spent the day with Aaron and his wife. So he's struggling, he's battling, he's fighting, but he's still with us. So everybody out there that's listening to this, send a prayer his way, because I think prayers do make a difference.
He's a great guy. I've actually had the pleasure to meet him 3 times, and a couple of times got to talk to him for a little extended period there. And what a gentleman, what a great fisherman. And just, it's horrible. Cancer is a horrible disease.
Yeah, it really is. We lost my mother-in-law to breast cancer it's been 4 years ago, and it came on quick. And, there's not a day goes by where we don't think about her. We've been going through, we're in the process of getting ready to start building a house. So we've been going through a lot of old pictures and stuff, and you see those old pictures, and it's just, it stirs all that stuff back up.
It's tough. It's very tough. And there's hardly a family in this country that hadn't been touched some way, somehow by cancer.
Yes. Greg says he had a bunch of 6 cents baits until the boys at Table Rock decided to steal his fishing gear. Lock your stuff up, fellas, even when the boats are in the slips. So that's very true. You never know. And there's something about a high school team a while ago that I was reading who had a bunch of stuff stolen. Let's see if I can find that comment again.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's not just specific to Table Rock. That happens here on Lake of the Ozarks too.
And that can happen in the best of places, and it can happen in the worst of places. I mean,
Yeah.
A thief is going to be a thief. It doesn't matter if he's on Table Rock, Cedar Lake, where we fish at. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I would never leave my tackle in my boat in a slip, and
Too
I'd
easy
be
to get in and out.
taking my electronics out too. So
Yeah, I mean, if a guy comes over by water, it just takes him a couple minutes to throw it in his
Yep.
boat and then leave.
Yep.
And you've got no license plate. I mean, sure, there's numbers on the side of the boat, but you know, it's a lot harder to track somebody that steals.
And
by
if he's
water.
a thief, he's already thought about that. I
Sure.
promise you that.
well, a year ago at PB2, I mean, I'm sure you guys have been there, Public Beach number 2. That's a pretty huge facility, well lit. And these guys got in and stole the copper off of the electrical boxes and the wiring to the boat docks. I mean, that's crazy. It's
They work
unbelievable.
harder to steal something than they do
trying to go out and get a
trying
job.
to get a $100.
Yep.
John has a question. Do you all ever fish black crankbaits?
Me personally, I've got some, and not much. I've got some friends that use them at night. Will actually throw black crankbaits at night and catch fish on them. But I like the real dark brown with a pale orange belly, the old wiggle warts. That's as close to black as I would probably ever get.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Mike. I don't throw any black crankbaits. And no other reason besides that typically you go to the store or wherever you're shopping at, Omnia, wherever, they don't sell a lot of black crankbaits.
Well, 6 Cents has got some good looking ones, and I've actually bought some of them, but I've never caught anything on them, and I've thrown them a little bit.
Right. I'm not saying that they don't catch them. I just don't throw them.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
I'm going to throw a crawdad pattern, or if I'm going to throw in the rocks, or I'm going to throw a shad pattern if I'm fishing offshore. So those are.
I have a Bandit 200 series that's probably 20 years old. It's black, and I took some of that glow in the dark yellow paint, like chartreuse yellow paint, and I pasted it all along the back of the crankbait, just thinking that, you know, the fish could see that little glow in the dark crankbait down there. Never caught anything on it, but I thought it was a good idea.
It was a good thought.
You could have been a
For
millionaire
sure.
if it would have took off.
Yeah, you probably have to hold it up to the black light every 10 minutes to charge it up throughout the course
Get
of
it
the night.
going again. Yep.
So here's a really good question from Danny, and this will be something like a segue kind of into the fall fishing down at Lake of the Ozarks. He says, what does Mike suggest for the 5 best baits for Lake of the Ozarks in November?
So funny Danny would ask that. Got a try and get this where everyone can see it.
There
It's
you go.
tricky.
Say, Tackle HD. It's a 1/2 ounce. It's black on black with a black ribbit frog. And that's just about as good as you can get most days. Okay. If it's a sunny day, I'm going to probably be throwing this one. And it's a white Tackle HD. It's got white ribbon on it, and it has a gold blade. And I like that in the sun. Think that it makes a difference, that gold blade does.
Are those head knockers?
No, they're Tackle HD.
No, are the blades?
Yes. Yeah, they are head knockers. And, I'll be honest with you. There's sometimes that I move the blade so that it doesn't knock, because those fish get so conditioned to that.
Okay.
And it makes them not want to bite it.
So you've seen scenarios where just by moving that blade off of the jig head,
Yep.
you'll get bites.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the lake we're getting ready to go to, Grand Lake, that's absolutely the case down there. Yeah,
Okay.
I won't be throwing something that makes a lot of racket.
So the black buzzbait for overcast conditions, or do
Yep.
you ever throw that in sunny conditions?
You know what? I will throw it in sunny conditions, but in shade when I can get into shaded areas, shady side of a boat dock. I just like that. Its silhouette's good when it's dark. Okay. And I think the white with that gold blade in the sun really adds some flash to it, and triggers bites that I wouldn't get on a black one.
Okay, so on a black buzzbait, are you always typically running a black blade, or do you ever put a different color? Okay, so it's black.
I like black on black. I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then with the white, is it gold blade, or do you put a silver blade on there sometimes?
I don't think. I just typically like gold. I think it gives off a much better flash than silver wood does. And you know, I'm sure there's 100 other guys that disagree with that. Okay, but that's just me. That's my experience.
Yeah.
So that's he was asking what would I use. Well, that's two baits right there that I would definitely be keen in on. Here's another one that's great. It's a Ozarks. It's a pencil popper. It's a pretty good sized bait. You can cast it a mile and it catches big fish. And that's working right now. You can catch them on that. You can hear the rattling.
That'll wake them up. Is that a bone color?
It's bone with an orange throat.
Okay.
Is there any other color? I mean, come on.
Bone's a good color, man. Bone seems like it always works.
The only other color I would throw in this would be black. So
there's a trend going on here, I see.
Black and white.
Here's another one that I really like, and it's just called the pencil. And it's a spook-like lure from Ozarks. And it's just walks the dog something fierce. It's really easy to work. A lot of those older spooks are hard to get going. This thing starts off just immediately. And so it's easy to work. Somebody that's not really proficient in fishing a spook could get a hold of one of these and go to town with it really quick.
What's that called again?
It's called a pencil, not popper, just a pencil.
The pencil. Okay. Yep. So you like that translucent type of color?
I do in this clear water. Yeah. And I'll throw that on sunny days, no wind, and they'll kill it.
Okay. What about a feather? You ever put a feather on there? What do you think about feathered, like a tail feather?
You know what? I don't, because a lot of times I think it impacts the movement of the bait. I know guys swear by them, but I've never really had that good of success. Maybe caught them a few times on like a pawpaw that had a feather on the tail, but most of the time, no, for me.
Yeah. I could see, I mean, something that's moving, I'd say the feather is less critical versus like a pawpaw that's sitting there, because it's sitting still. That feather has a little bit of chance to kind of expand and draw the fish in. Makes sense.
I'd say you're right. So the last bait that I would definitely, and I didn't bring one up, unfortunately, but that's a spinner bait. That's, I'll have one tied on one of the Tackle HD models, and I'm always going to be throwing that.
So willow leaf, Colorado combination?
Double willow, the not the big blades, but my favorite one that that Tackle HD has one blade chartreuse, one blade white on the underside, and then the tops are both gold. And that's a good combo. Caught a lot of fish on that.
And you throw that in the clear water?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But now Lake of the Ozarks clear is not like Table Rock clear. It's
No, you wouldn't want to. I mean, I'd throw that on table rock too, but I'd want to throw it on a cloudy, windy day.
Okay.
They
Gotcha.
knock the crap out of it down there, guarantee you.
yeah. So 1/2 ounce, 3/8, or
1/2 ounce and 3/4.
and 3/4. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
So let's back up just a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the rod and reel and line and that kind of stuff that you throw
Yeah.
on the top waters. And you know, just what do you recommend for all the baits that you just showed us?
I like a 7'2", medium heavy for the top waters. And depending, you know, for the walking baits, like we were just looking at, I like a 7.3 or an 8.3 to 1, pretty fast pickup. And for the buzz bait, I'll throw a 6.3 to 1 because I don't want to overpower it.
Mm-hmm. Are you a braid on the top waters or
No.
a mono?
No, I'm not a braid guy. I take that back. Like on this pencil popper, that's 40-pound braid.
Okay.
And I've been using, for the last 4 years, Ozarks. Lucky enough to be sponsored by them. And they've got some really high quality braid. It's affordable. And also use their premium fluorocarbon.
Okay.
And really high quality, non-abrasive, not much memory in it. Good line.
So on your walking baits, your spook style baits, you're throwing fluorocarbon.
No, I'm throwing this Ozarks braid.
Okay, so you're
40-pound.
throwing the braid on all those walking baits.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But not on the buzz bait.
Gotcha.
Okay. So spinnerbait, obviously fluorocarbon, and then the same rod, or do you change rods for your spinnerbaits?
So I've got 2 or 3 different rods depending on the size of the bait that I'm throwing. I've got a couple of G Lumas of their older rods, 7.3 heavy rods that I'll throw like a 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce spinnerbait on. And then I've got a couple of ARK rods. Started using them recently, and they're extremely good. Got some Falcon rods in the 7 to 7.2 range that I use. They're extremely good. Almost all of my reels are Daiwa.
Okay. Andy's got a good question. He says, if you're fishing a crankbait, do you try different colors before switching to something else?
That is a good question. And, you know, there's a lot of variables with that. If the watercolor is dingy, then I'm probably not going to be switching up a bunch because I'm going to be throwing something that they should really jump on. If the water's clear, I'm probably going to try a couple of different variations to see if I can figure out a way to get them to trigger on it. So yes and no.
I probably would tend to agree. What about you?
Yeah. I don't fish a crankbait as much as I should. I mean, I do,
Right.
I do a little bit, and that's because of what we mentioned earlier with a lot of the grass. I mean, there's times in
Right.
the spring, or if I'm on a different lake, you know, Kentucky Lake, I've definitely thrown my fair share of crankbaits down there, and even, you know, Lake of the Ozarks. I don't get there a whole lot, but I got a lot of experience with probably a rock crawler or a wiggle wart. The most,
Yep.
is probably, or a 5 or 6 XD. That's probably the two. Well, I guess a 1.5 too sometimes.
So mine's
But-
either a 1.5 or a 6 XD. That's
yeah.
I don't have that in between cranking game.
But that rock crawler or something that gets out there in like the 8 to 10 foot zone,
Mhm.
I've got more experience with that recently, just because that a lot of that grass kind of stops, you know, around that 8 foot zone. But yeah, so I tend to, if I'm throwing a crankbait, I might switch one color, 2 colors, but then I'm probably going to be going to a chatterbait or a spinnerbait or a swim jig. You know, that's kind of, to me, that kind of catches the same fish.
Well, for me, a crankbait is more of a reaction bait. Unless it's early spring, I'm not looking to talk one into biting. I'm looking to one to.
You're just covering water.
Kind of to tick him off so he'll eat it. I'm not, if I want to slow down, I'll throw a jig or, some sort of creature bait. So,
yeah. Well, and I mean, for the people that are on here that fish Lake of the Ozarks, here's a little tip for you. Those baits that you mentioned, the rock crawler and the wigglewort, those are not just springtime baits. I catch the fire out of them in November and December on those baits here. And so you shouldn't overlook that. There's just days that they want that. And they are usually, you get them grouped up in that water, that cold water, and it's a lot of fun. Throw that on a 12-pound test fluorocarbon, and depending on the water temp, I'll actually go down to a 5-4-1 reel. So I am really slow crawling that thing down that ledge line.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, because we always associate that with a spring bait.
It's not. Trust me. I've won a lot of money in the fall on a wigglewort.
So crawl color? Do you still throw in the crawl color in the fall, or is it typically like a shad pattern?
No. So the rock crawler type bait, I like the red. Even mud bug, Louisiana mud bug, I think it's called. I'm not sure. It's when you see it, you'll know it. It's red, and that's the color that I usually gravitate to. And then on my wiggleworts, I had some custom painted, and I wanted the guy to paint them a certain way. Well, as it turned out, he didn't do that at all. And I got them back, and they have kind of a pale tan belly, and they're purple. And I'm talking purple. And the bass absolutely kill them. So that's
he knew what you wanted. He knew what you wanted before you knew what you wanted. That's funny.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. That's the truth.
Well, you're a better man than me, or better man than most. I don't know if I would have thrown it.
Well, I was, after I'd paid $20 or $25 to have them painted, I was definitely going to try them. So, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. What do you think about? Do you think there's much of a difference between an original wigglewort and a newer production wigglewort? Because it's always like an argument between people.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. Back in the day, Ron Morton, who was the GM at Storm before Rapella bought him, he and I were good friends, and he sent me boxes of those things. So I've got all original. That's what I use. And I actually have originals custom painted, if you can believe that. People would think I'm crazy for the price that they bring in the box and untouched, but I do think they work better. I really do. I know I cry when I lose one. It's like losing one of the kids.
You talk like that's from experience, that you've lost one of the children.
Well, I've lost, there's no telling how many I've lost through the years, but I've got one of those 18-foot money poles. Yeah. And I don't lose very many of them now since I got that.
Yeah. You need to look into this. There's a company called Trieve. They make a lure retrieval system that mounts on the bottom of the deck of your boat, and it has a little nut that comes through the top of your boat. And it has, it has like 50 foot of rope, and then you put your hound dog retriever or something, but it's a retractable retriever. So all that's above your boat is the little hound dog retriever. And when you pull it up, pop it on your line, slide it down, you get your lure free, pull it up, and it just retracts right into the bottom of your boat. It's pretty handy. I mounted one.
That is.
about 4 months ago, and I use it all the time. I mean, I wouldn't use it if it wasn't up there. But since it's right there, I have a tendency to just slide over there and pop it on.
Well, this 18-foot money pole has other uses besides getting lures off of the bottom. 2 or 3 times last fall, I was messing around PB2, and one day I got over $250 worth of lures out of trees. I'm talking a mega bass, rock crawlers, and the prize of all prizes was a old Reaction Innovation Vixen, which they don't make, and they're $150 right now on eBay if you can find them. And I got one out of a tree. So
yeah, that's a multi-purpose lure retriever right there. It's not just in the
really
water.
That was a good day.
Dang. I've always thought about doing that when you get a lake.
Hold on. Up in the tree or in the water?
No, up in the tree. I'm talking, 15, 20 foot up in a tree.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, you're talking about a top water.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, why is a Vixen underneath the water?
No, it's up in a tree.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember we found a mega bass over Egypt one day. It was hanging in a tree, and it was one of those, like, we went up there and grabbed it.
Oh, it was close. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't anywhere near that. Nobody could have just trolled over there and grabbed it. Either that or they may have thrown it. It snapped on the cast, and they had no idea where it went.
Yeah, that's
that
probably
was the only thing that we could think of. But yeah, it was just hanging right there in the tree.
It's crazy.
We had that happen on Egypt too. We were fishing an A-rig, and my buddy Jerry, he sets, and it was fishing line. Pull it in, and it's a Vision 110 in Western Clown color, which is one of my favorite colors, and it was brand spanking new on 6-pound test. It couldn't have been in the water for more than a day. I mean, there was absolutely no algae growing on it. The hooks were brand spanking new, and so that was, I paid for the gas pretty much for that day.
Yeah, that's a good find. Absolutely.
Let's see here. Let's scroll through here and see what kind of questions we've got on here. Here's Tim says he had a partner who wouldn't put a frog down when I was catching fish on a Cinco and swim jig all day. We lost by 1 pound, 1 ounce. That happens, but if you would have got a 5-pounder to blow up on that frog, it would have been a different story.
I say new partner is what I would say.
Yeah. Nixon fired. You're fired.
Depends on I guess for me it all depends on the lake that I'm at, because I've caught that 5-pounder with 2 minutes to go at the end of the day in the back of a grass mat that throwing a frog in. So
you just never know.
That's just
no.
Let me see here. I'm scrolling through these comments real quick. Oh, here's just a comment from Tim again. He says he doesn't have his own boat and he's always in the back, so he really appreciates when the guy in the front takes his fishing into consideration.
Yeah, and I think most guys in the front try to do that. And a lot of times, that isn't altogether possible all day long. But I do try to look out for that guy in the back. And if I'm going really fast, I'll actually slow down a little. And because I fish fast anyway. And give that guy a chance to get a fish.
Here's can you see that from Terry? He says a good friend of his once said, take what you catch on Wednesday, divide it by 2, and subtract another 10. You know anything about that?
Formula for Geltner on his days when he's fishing on Wednesday. So he's going to catch a -10 on Saturday. Terry's a good friend. In fact, he got me into the Daiwa family. He was a Daiwa rep for years. And so I've stayed with them. He's moved on to other adventures, but I've stayed with Daiwa. And in fact, a couple of their key engineers are going to be here from Osaka, Japan in mid-November, and I'll be hosting them for a day of fishing on
Wow,
Lake of
that's
the
pretty
Ozarks.
cool.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't have any more Daiwa reels, but I have a Tatula rod, spinning
Yep.
rod that I really love. It's a great,
Yep.
great rod. It's very well balanced.
Well, they build great equipment. It's built to last, and I'm tough on stuff. And man, I'm telling you, I can't say enough good things about the Daiwa reel platform across the board. Whether it's a Tatula, a Steez, their high-end reel, they're all built extremely well, and they're lightweight.
I actually got one sitting in the closet right now. Just that you reminded me of that. I got a buddy that had a handful of them, and he gave me one to try out last year at this time, and I still have not tried it. So I need to bust that one out. And
Rich says he'd cut down a tree to get a vixen back.
He knows what a vixen is.
He's caught plenty of fish on the vixen for sure.
Yeah.
What Daiwas would be your workhorses day in and day out?
So I'm a pitch and flip guy 80% of the time, and they have a series. It's on the Tatula frame, and it's a pitch and flip reel. It's extreme. I think they're 8-3-1 and 9-5-1.
Oh wow!
Ratios, and I probably got a dozen of them. I love them, and I found out 2 years ago that I can throw jerk baits with 10-pound test line on them, and they don't backlash, and you can cast them a mile. So that's my absolute favorite Daiwa reel, is their pitch and flip reel.
Okay, but it's on. You said it's on a Tatula frame.
It is. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Phil wants to know, how hard is it to run the upper portion of the Osage?
So what I would tell you, two things. One, have good mappage. I have Lake Master maps, and they're very accurate, so you can always be in the channel. The channel is not always where it looks like it would be up there. You can be on a bluff line and be in 2 foot of water. So you got to be really careful. So good map would be the number one thing I would say. And then number two is watch your lake level. And if it's down low, I think is say 657 or below, I probably, if you hadn't been up there, I probably wouldn't try it, because it's silted in and you got to really know where you're going at that point. My favorite time up there is right in snagging season. So if you can imagine 500 John boats with 1,000 Bubbas in bib overalls, and it's 40 degrees, throwing 4 ounces of lead out in the middle of a 50-foot wide channel, and I'm doing 70 miles an hour through it, you can see how there could be some issues that can crop up. But seriously, lake level and then a good map, and you'll be fine. Watch your lake level and then have a good map.
This guy would know reels.
Yeah,
if anybody
for
would know
sure.
reels. So Trey Harple, Tatula Elites. He's Tatula.
I've reached
and
out
Shimano.
to Trey a handful of times, and we've
Yep.
had some discussions about reels, and it's in his camp. It's 2, and he said it earlier. It's Daiwa or Shimano.
Yep.
So,
Tim said he sold all his Corrado to go to Tatulas. Let's see here.
But I mean, there's several great reels available, not, out there. I mean, Luz has some good quality stuff. Shimano builds good reels. Abu Garcia. So I'm just kind of partial to Daiwa, but just had they're bulletproof for me.
It's great that Trey has blessed us with his presence.
Yeah, I was
because
going to
the
say, I was
Blues
going
are
to
in
say,
an
Blues are intermission. That's the only reason why Trey's
Hey,
on right now.
So-
We'll
when
take
he
it.
comes in.
We'll take it.
Appreciate you.
So Blues, is that hockey, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
I'm not a hockey person, so and after yesterday, I'm not a football person either. After the Chiefs played.
Okay. Rich agrees on the Daiwas. I might need to look back into them. I've been running loose for like 12, 14 years, and my original tournament pros are still going. They
Yeah.
just keep going. So if I was to make a big switch, I like the Corrados. I used to have the old green Corrados, the 200s. They were pretty good reels.
Yep.
Pretty bulletproof, pretty solid.
Yep.
And
Yep. Had
you've
several
got
of them.
some of the newer Corrados. You like them?
I've went from Luz to Corrados, the new ones, the Ks. I think I got 10 of them now. So 4 of them are still in the boxes. So
yeah, it just costs so much to switch
Oh,
all
I
your
know.
stuff out. You got to do it
Gosh.
a little bit of time, and I hate having reels that are all different.
Well, you and I had a really good thing going in those BFLs because, like, the first year that they had the Luz contingency, and I think you and I hit every one of them for 1 or 2 seasons out of Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, they would. If you won the tournament, you got $500 worth of free Luz merchandise. If you were the top finisher that was in the contingency program, you got $250. So we won, of the 5 tournaments, I think we won 4 of the prizes for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of loose stuff because of that. And it, some of it's still working, Let's see here.
Everybody's on the real talk now.
Yeah.
Apparently, we need to do get Trey on here and do a
Trey
reel.
back on here. We had him on a long time ago.
We just need to make sure that Blues hockey is not on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or we only get 15 minutes from intermission of Trey.
Yeah.
So
I'm kidding. Let's work our way into we talked a little bit about fall. We touched on fall, and there's fall is going to transition over into winter, and it's going to be here before we know it. So, making that adjustment from fall fishing to winter, what are some things to look for and some of the bait selections and pattern changes that you look for on Lake of the Ozarks?
Well, certainly the biggest factor that is that creates the change in the fish and the bait fish, and that's water temp. And as that water temperature drops, those fish begin to filter more into their winter patterns. And I mean, that could be, on the low end, that could be suspending off points, that could be on channel banks. Up in the river, it could be loading up on a ledge off of a channel bank. And usually I start thinking about that jerkbait when it's gets a little bit below 50 and it's coming down. And I'm throwing other things. I'm throwing a big spinner bait. I'm throwing that wiggle wart. I'm throwing a rock crawler, and I'm throwing a jig. But that jerkbait will continue to get better and better and better. And you get down into, we're the 40s. That's when that bait shines. So water temp's the number one thing to look for and to determine what you're going to throw and where you're going to throw it at.
Gotcha.
I mentioned jerk baits. I'm pretty partial to Megabass 110. I think everybody is. That's an old one that I've had. Sustain Reaction, one of the original ones that I got from Japan. And I love that color. This is another old original.
You must be a pretty good caster to have original Megabass still.
I don't fish these. I don't throw these.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That's a deadly black shad.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll hold that up. Try and get it there where you can see. There's straight eyes versus downward eyes. That's how you can certainly tell real quickly the whether it's a new or an old bait. And I'm not going to take this one out of the box, but it's the Table Rock Shad. And you can see the eyes are pointing down. That's a new one. That's one I'd fish with.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. So straight eyes is an old, and then
That's
okay.
old.
Interesting.
Is there a market for the older ones?
Oh, yeah. That's why I don't fish those. I don't want to lose them. This is another little tip, and I catch a lot of big fish on this, and I get it up here. It is a 1/4 ounce football, finesse football jig. You can see the little hook on that.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful when you set the hook, or you'll break the hook. That is a rage tail Ned bug, and that's what I use as the trailer.
Wow.
And
so
that's when that
really...
water gets down into the 40s. And I throw that on 10 or 12 pound fluorocarbon. And, that's really that jerk bait and a jig. I know a lot of guys, throw the A rig, and I've caught 2 fish on the Ozarks over 8 pounds on the A rig. So I know it catches big fish, but I just don't like to throw it. I like to, throw the jerk bait instead. And a lot of tournaments you can't throw it in. They don't allow you to throw it. So I still have them, still throw them some, but not as much as if I can catch them some other way, I'm going to try and figure that out.
I tend to agree. I don't like the A rig either. Just not a fan of it.
Yeah. I know last year we were on the low end in a big tournament, and we were in a pretty popular cove, 6 Mile Cove, the right-hand fork. And I could see 5 boats in our immediate area. And every one of them, when they go to cast, you could see the blades spinning on that A-rig. They were all throwing A-rigs. It was just like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, that's got to eventually make the jerkbait bite better if everybody's throwing A-rigs, I would think.
Yeah. No, they catch them on it. I've got a lot of friends that throw it, but if I can keep from throwing it, I'm going to do it. But a lot of times, it's, I can't, they're not firing on anything else, and it's defense, because if you don't throw it, you're probably going to get your butt kicked. So,
yeah,
that's very true. Very true. So those jerkbaits, the 3 colors, are some of those, how do you choose? What's your rule of thumb for choosing like jerkbait colors based on the conditions?
Well, sunny day. I like a color that's called Pro Blue. That's a really good color. If in clear water, if there's just a little bit of stain, I like a color called Edo Natural, and that's a really, really good big fish bait. In kind of more stained water, I love to throw that Deadly Black Shad and that stain reaction.
Do they still make that Deadly Black Shad color?
I think they do. Yeah. Yeah, I've got 2 or 3 new ones that I throw.
Okay.
I got to ask a personal question. This might be letting the cat out of the bag, but you ever throw like an orange or a red jerkbait?
Yep.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Just making sure. I'm the only one that throws that every once in a while.
I didn't bring one up. Do you know what ditchweed is?
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's bad to the bone in muddy water.
It is.
That's I've got a bunch of those.
I was kind of being honorary by just mentioning that, but I saw that a couple of years ago when I was fishing Lake of the Ozarks, and it was dirty.
Yep.
And my buddy Mike Marfeld, he had a couple of the Megabass versions of it was actually a color that came over from Japan. I can't remember the name of it, but I was like, you're not gonna catch anything on that. It's just hideous looking, but that's what they wanted.
They bite it. They bite it.
Weird.
Well, heck, that table rock
Funny.
shad's hideous in my opinion.
The Table Rock Shad?
Yeah. That purple and chartreuse.
I know, but there's something about that yellow or that chartreuse belly or that orange belly
I know.
that they like down there.
That's like clown.
They eat the paint off of that. They like it. They're big on it.
Here's a good question for we'll get back to jerkbaits here in a second, but this is kind of like, I mean, we can relate to this. Barry says he struggles with tackle organization, especially while he's fishing and switching from boat to bank. And to me, I relate that to having two boats. I have a 16-foot John boat and I have a 20-foot glass boat. And I also fish as a co-angler, and I fish in the back of other people's boats, you know, doing video or just fun fishing. So you're always, you know, moving stuff around. And I'll be honest, Barry, my stuff's a mess, but I do have.
I got the ultimate tip for it.
Okay.
Just buy like 5 of everything and keep an extra bag.
You'd still move it around.
But we all know that that's not practical and you're going to still forget something.
I have one bag. I got one kind of decent sized bag. It would almost be like a tool bag or something, like a small tool bag that I keep like general plastics, like my favorite plastics, you know, a couple kinds of worms, a couple crawl trailers, you know, some beavers, some swim baits, just stuff that I use all the time, some speed crawls. And then I've got one terminal tackle box, like a 3600 that's got, you know, hooks, weights, bobber stops, all that stuff. And then I've got a couple boxes that have a little mix of everything in there, you know, some different crankbaits, some different top waters. I've got I'll have a couple of the sides for jigs of different flavors, and then some chatterbaits and swim jigs of different flavors. And so you can get a lot of stuff in just 2 or 3 of those Plano 3600s. And most of the time it's enough. Now I will say there's been many times where I bring those boxes and I get to the lake and I forgot to put like a 5XD in there or something, you know, and I'm like, crap. So I end up throwing a rock crawler or something. And you know, you're always you can't take it all. So there's going to be gaps, but I think if you can get a couple boxes rigged up with stuff that you would most likely throw in most situations, you know, that's
tell your
the way to
5
go.
confidence baits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, if you're going to a lake and they're catching them on let's say a 660, you're going to Kentucky Lake and as you're fishing as a co-angler and they're smashing them on 6XDs and you have zero confidence in the 6XD, but you take 12 of them, you're probably still not going to throw them. Throw the jig or the worm that you got confidence in the same areas. So,
yeah. The tournament's not the time to get confidence on something. No. Usually, most of the time.
Yep.
Let's see here. See if we got any more comments on here. Trey says the egg rig crushes smallies up north. Yes. You ever been up north fishing for smallmouths?
You know what? I never have. I've been to Alaska a couple of times, salmon and halibut fishing, but never ventured up. Had a lot of opportunities to go, just never got up there.
Well, congratulations, Tim. He said he had his first success on a jerkbait yesterday. He said he's been forcing himself not to fish his comfort baits and pick up baits like cranks, jerkbaits, and soft body swim baits and the drop shot. How do you recommend somebody's wanting to learn a new technique? What's the best way to learn a new technique?
Put that rod in your boat or in your truck and 2 or 3 different colors of that bait, and that's all you got. Just stick with it. That's how I learned to catch them on a jerkbait. And that was with a Rogue, a weighted Smithwick Rogue 30 years ago. And those damn things still work. So,
and you can barely cast it to the back of the boat.
The old air
They
biscuit.
cost $6 and Megabass are, 30. So go figure. They both still catch fish.
Yeah.
I still buy them every time I find them cheap somewhere. I buy.
There's certain colors. There's certain colors that work really, really well.
There's a time and a place for every bait, and fishermen, we have way too many of certain things in some people's opinion. I think I just got enough, maybe not even enough sometimes.
You just got backups.
I got backups for my backups usually.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
there's going to come a time or place where that $300 worth of rogues that I got in the basement's going to come out to play, and I'm going to have them and somebody else isn't. So
there you go.
Yeah, I think I think you nailed it, Mike. The best way to learn something is to just only take that out and not give yourself an opportunity to put it down when it's tough. You know, you'll make yourself just keep it in your hand.
You did a video on that.
I've been doing a couple. So on my YouTube channel, I've been doing a series called One Man, One Bait, One Lake. And I go out to one lake and I take one bait, you know, maybe not necessarily one bait, but one style of bait, just walking topwater baits. Or I did a video where I just had a speed crawl and I rigged a speed crawl up a bunch of different ways. But the reason I did that was just to force myself to learn all the different applications of a certain bait and to keep it in my hand. Because a lot of times there'll be a bite window for that bait throughout the course of a day, and you may not be throwing it when it's happening. Not every day. But yeah, so that's it's kind of forcing me to learn a certain bait, and it's fun. It's challenging, man. It's really challenging, especially when you know they're biting something else good. You're like, I know they're biting a spinner bait right now, but I'm stuck throwing a Neko rig, you know. It's like but it teaches you patience.
Well, in the day that try something new isn't the day that you're not catching any fish and you think that that's what it's going to do. Pick that day. I mean, if you want to learn a jerkbait, this is I guess another tip. If you want to learn how to throw a jerkbait, or you want to learn how to throw a XYZ, you name it, pick the day that the fish are biting on. Don't pick the day that it's a tough, brutal day, and that's the day you need to go back to your confidence bait, a jig, a spinner bait, whatever your confidence bait is, and stick with that. But if you're getting bit, you know, every 30 yards down a bank on a spinner bait, pick up something else and try it.
Because you know the fish are biting.
You know the fish are in the area, and you know the fish are biting.
That's a good day to get confidence on a swim jig or a chatterbait.
Yeah,
you know, when they're really, really biting. You know, the spring is a great time to get a feel for how a bait works and get a lot of confidence in a bait. But you know, probably throwing a spinner bait up shallow in the middle of August with no wind at noon, your chances of catching fish are probably pretty slim. You know, you're better off.
That's probably not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now you get a cloudy day and the wind kicks up and there might be a little bit of rain that can completely change it. Mike says that the Strike King J 300 deep jerkbait is a good one. Yeah, I've been throwing that last year, Mike. It's a pretty good one. It actually is one of those jerkbaits that really gets down there like 11 foot, which is kind of nice. It's kind of like the +1 or the +2 on the Division 110 side. So I got to ask before we go any further, have you ever seen a Sasquatch or heard of any Sasquatch stories down there around the Lake of the Ozarks area? Is that a common occurrence down there, or just a myth?
We are in a Sasquatch-free zone. I don't think that Sasquatch abounds here.
Okay. I know you got a lot of party boats and stuff down there on Lake of the Ozarks. We
do.
You get back there in Party Cove. I didn't know.
Occasional little black bear. We've got a few of those running around, but no Sasquatches.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. You just never know. I saw a black bear not too long ago in about 30 minutes north of us. I was just coming home from the lake one night. It was raining. It was about 9 o'clock, and just standing right there on the side of the road was probably about a 150, 200 pound black bear. And they're pretty common. I think aren't they? Isn't there a hunting season this year?
Yeah, I think Missouri has a hunting season this year for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the first year. Yeah.
Here's a question. This has been like the super hot topic. Have you heard anything about the in your rig, the Japanese in your rig? That's a little worm with the line going through the middle of it. Have you seen that?
That's probably not in my arsenal.
Gotcha.
I'm not a drop shotter. Okay, so I doubt that. Now, to answer the question truthfully, no, I don't know anything about that.
Okay. Well, it's been a craze the last 2 weeks. It's basically a trick worm with a couple rivets in the center, and you make an S out of it, and you run your line through those rivets, and when you pull it, it has like a ton of action.
Oh,
So
cool.
anyway, it's like the craze. Everybody's
Interesting. No,
making a video
I'll
on it.
have to look that up. I'll have to Google that and look at it. I'm not familiar with it.
You're a power fisherman. You like to move. I don't think it's going to work for you because it's a light line. for a snake.
Any type of worm I got to put rivets in. I'm probably not going to be doing that.
I agree. I agree.
All right. Well,
Oh, here's a good question from Jeff. Did we already get a winner?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, well let's
But
hit that question. We'll
I'm
talk
gonna
about
try
that
to.
for a second.
There we go. You talk.
So this is something I've always, people have different opinions on this. Should a suspending jerkbait sink head first or horizontally while sitting still?
So that's a real good question, and I truthfully don't know the gospel truth answer. What I do is I weight the front hook, and I like when it sinks, I like the bait to go down slowly head first, and I rig mine to sink slow. I don't want them just to suspend. Typically, I like the slow sink, and the reason I do that is because most of those big fish, when they bite, they get it head first. And so if I can have that bait kind of going into their face, I just feel like I got a better chance of them eating it.
Okay. You ever tail weight?
When they are really on it, when those fish are really on that jerk bait and you land one and that bait is in their mouth head first, you've got the right color, the right presentation, everything's right. That's the way they eat it.
Yeah, I like it sinking really slow for the simple fact that I think you can just get it down there deeper if you have the patience. I think that fish is seeing it, kind of coming to them, because a lot of times they're real sluggish and they don't want to move too far. But I think if it's just kind of coming to them, it forces them to come up there and suck it in. So, I definitely don't want it rising.
Right. Yep, I think you're right.
We have a winner, and
you were right.
You guys are not going to believe this, but it's this gal once again. I don't know how she does it, but it's amazing. She's got like
you guys aren't feeding her insider information, are
no,
you?
you would think so. We talked about 6 cents. We talked about 6 cents baits a while ago. I think she just has a 6 cents for the number of the Sasquatch giveaway. It's very impressive. So congratulations, Stephanie.
That is.
I'm running out of different products. I'm running out of different product to give her.
That's hysterical. She can open a tackle store.
I know I'm going to have to start getting into my old wiggle warts and things to give her something.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. Let's not get carried away.
Let's not say things we can't take back here.
No, I'll get you some fresh colors. Anybody else guess that? Scan down through here real quick. She's good. It's impressive. She needs to be playing the lottery.
Yes. What's your numbers tonight, Stephanie? I don't know if there's even a drawing or not.
Mike says the nose down is the natural dying fish posture and helps bass trigger a feeding response. Yeah, I've heard that. Like a dying shad is typically nose down. I
think that's exactly right.
Drake's got a good question. Best fall jig color on Lake of the Ozarks?
My favorite is it's called Davenport Special, and it's a brown
I've heard of that guy.
Rubber with green mylar. Bill Davenport's one of my best friends, so I've got hundreds of them, and I've always got one tied on.
Is that made by him, or what company makes that?
No, Chompers. Yep. And I think that color's been kind of pirated by other, manufacturers. So I think there's a lot of variations of that out there now. That
makes sense. You ever throw that Dirk's jig around? I know that's pretty popular down there.
I do. Yep. And when I do that, I throw that those little Ned Rig rage tails, rage bugs, as a trailer. It's perfect.
Okay. I've got some of those because they just, well, for that reason, for little finesse jigs, they look like they'd fit
Yep.
perfect on there.
Yeah. Yeah, they work great on that little 1/4 ounce football jig too.
I'll look over. I wrote down a few questions. I want to make sure we got all this, got all these out there real quick. Oh, well, you talked about Davenport being one of your buddies, and I've seen some pictures with you fishing with Marcus as well. You know, you guys fish tournaments against each other. So when you're fishing with each other, how do you handle that? Is it just two guys having fun out fishing, or, you know, do you ever show a spot to one of them and you're like, I wish I wouldn't have shown
That's never an issue, never a problem ever. Whenever Marcus likes to fish up in the river with me, and he's not going up there in a big tournament and fish against me up there. That isn't going to happen. Just like I'm not going to go and fish his and Bill's brush piles. Not going to do that. We, just don't do that. So that's never an issue.
Good. Yeah. That's what I figured. You just respect, I fish with people that I'll be fishing with in tournaments around here too. And that's how it is. We respect each other's spots, and that's just the way it is. It's kind of like one of those unsaid rules in baseball or sport. And there's just certain things you don't do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody's saying congratulations to Stephanie.
Again, way to go, Stephanie.
Right. You haven't seen, have you seen any kind of turnover yet down there?
I haven't, but I'd say this week there probably is some. It's probably happening right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my little pond, I got a 7-acre lake in my backyard, and I'm pretty sure it's turning over right now as we speak. So
yeah, it's the time of year for that to happen.
Because I've been out there the last week and a half, and that's my freezer stocker because it's full of crappie.
There you go.
And I haven't caught a crappie in a week and a half.
Yeah, it kind of sulls them up whenever that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
Well, if you guys out there got any last minute questions for Mike, get them in there. We're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. Something I was curious about, since you're down there all the time, Lake of the Ozarks froze over this year.
Yep.
And it'd been a while since it completely froze over. Have you noticed less shad in the lake this year because of the shad kill, or no?
No, I think it's exact opposite. There's more shad than we were talking about the boat ramp in the back of Rainey Creek. And when I came in, there was probably 10,000 shad back there in the 4 to 8 inch range. Big gizzards, just hundreds of them. The whole cove was lit up with them. And that's a 2 foot deep cove. So I've seen the exact opposite.
Okay. Because we got a lake over here that had a complete iced over, and it's had a kind of a big shad kill, and cedar. We're talking about cedar, but I was talking to my buddy Ron earlier, and he kind of thinks there's less shad than there was last year. What have you noticed?
In the Ozarks?
What do you think? No, actually, in one of these local lakes around here in southern Illinois, we noticed a little bit of a
and
shad
that could
kill.
be. I mean, that could be. I mean, when those lakes freeze over, that's hard on everything in that system. And it certainly killed a lot of shad on the Ozarks, but we're blessed. This lake's full of them still.
Yeah, we were froze over for quite a long time.
Yeah.
3 weeks probably.
Yeah, it was probably 3 weeks of solid frozen.
And it's a smaller lake too.
Yeah, 1,800 acres. So, I mean, something like that. And a lot of those coves where those shad are at, I mean, it's
kind of hard on them.
it's not as deep
Yeah.
as like the Ozarks. They don't have places to go and get out of that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken knows the code. He says a buddy and I are going to practice Wednesday together to compete against each other Saturday. It's the code. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just say, I'd leave it with this. Bill and Marcus are both really, really close friends, and we really don't practice together. All the times we're fishing, we're fun fishing. We're just out there having a good time and catching them. Bill and I got on a bite this spring on big swim baits, and we were having days we were catching 40, 50 keepers and big fish. And he and I fished 2 or 3 tournaments together during that time when Marcus couldn't make it. But, if I'd been fishing in one of those and Bill was in it, we would have split up the places. I don't want to fish behind him and he doesn't want to fish behind me. So we just talk it over, and it's never an issue or a big deal.
Phil wants to know, what are some good circuits to fish in the winter on Lake of the Ozarks?
The best one, the most fun one is Bass and Bob's Winter Bassathon. And that's 4 tournaments. And I think the first one is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And then they go through February. And they draw 100 boats in that. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of good guys. There's always food and, drink after the tournament and socializing, and just, really, really a good event. Bass World is another one. They've been around for years. Good friend of mine, Greg West, has taken that over here on the Ozarks, and they have some great winter tournaments. So that's 2 really good ones right there that come to mind.
Yeah, I've fished. It seems like almost every tournament you fish, Bass and Bob's got donuts and coffee there.
Yeah, he's good at that. Great. He's all about the fishermen, which is awesome.
Terry's got another question. He'd like to know, what is your go-to worm/creature bait hook, and as in the style of hook?
So I'm pretty much old school, and I think Terry already knows the answer to that because I just got about 10 dozen of them from him. They're Gamakatsu offset, just a straight offset worm hook in the 3, 4, and 5/0 series. I don't use extra wide gap. I don't like those. So just the old school offset worm hook.
So why the difference? Have you had a bad experience with the EWG?
I don't lose fish. It's a caught fish. When I hit him, he's coming in the boat usually. That extra wide gap, not so much. I don't know why that is. That's just my experience. And I just, I quit using them. And I don't lose many fish with those offset hooks, particularly the Gamakatsu.
I need to make that switch again, because I see a lot of guys fishing that style of hook versus the EWG on a worm. I see that really common.
Dad still does.
Yeah.
I can't get him to switch to EWG, and obviously there's nothing wrong with it because he's catching fish on it.
Yeah.
So.
Giltner's the Gamakatsu rep, so you can yell at him right now. Put your order in.
Yeah, I might do that. I just bought a 25-pack of. I like the super line a lot. It's an EWG, but I like that the 3-aught EWG super line hook for speed crawl. I fish a lot of speed crawls and the baby brush.
So do I.
That's my favorite. Personally, that's my favorite hook for those smaller.
I use that 3-aught offset on speed crawl, sometimes 4-aught. I flip those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome bait. That's a fish catcher.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable bait. It's just when I'm struggling, I know I've got enough confidence with that I can put it in my hand and get a bite.
When they're on that in the river, I can go through 3 bags in a day of speed crawls.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's 20 in a
How many
bag. Too, I
bites you
think.
get on them?
Yeah.
Huh. It's an excellent bait. Have you tried the
medium.
Magnum, like the Magnum size speed crawler that they came
That's
out
what
with?
I flip. Yeah,
That's what you
that's what I flip.
Okay.
Yeah, we were both excited about that one when it came out.
Yeah. I've got several bags of them. It's a good bait.
And I use a 4/0 offset on that one.
Let's see here. Yeah, Tom, Stephanie is going to be needing a bigger tackle bag. Oh, so we need a tackle bag giveaway. Okay, I got you. What's your thoughts on throwing flat side crankbaits, and what are some of your favorites?
You know what? I'll be very honest. I don't throw them. Probably should, but I don't.
That frit.
So I don't know. I'm not a good one to ask.
Yeah, Rich. Not that this is about Mike, but I've thrown that fritz side around a little bit. And of course, the Shad wraps and the Spro Little John. Throwing those around quite a bit the last couple of years. Those are all really good baits. Now, they work. It's kind of like the rock crawler. People forget about them in the fall. That flat side's a good bait to be thrown in the fall as well.
Hey, I would think they would work dynamite right now with all of the shad in the backs of these creeks and pockets. Just fan casting out under the shad balls. You're going to catch fish on them. I'd almost guarantee you that.
That OG Slim too. I bought a couple of those. You need to get one of those. It's got a different action. It's a unique little bait. I need to get a couple more of them for sure. I don't really need to, but I think I will. Already got I got like 700 crankbaits. It's like they just keep coming up with a little bit slightly different action.
What's another one or two?
That's true.
That's right. I like the way you think, Mike.
Yeah, heck yeah.
What's your go-to creature bait?
I bet it's a speed crawl.
That doesn't count as a creature bait. It's got to have more than
I like
two
the speed
images.
crawl. Probably one that Stephanie's never heard of. It's a culprit bait, and it's called the Incredibug. And that is my number one creature bait that I flip. They've got 10 or 12 great colors. It's got a pretty thick body, so I can get a rattle stuffed up in it. 4/0 hook works great on it, and the bass really bite it.
Very good. See if I got any more questions. We're going to let you go here. It's been really cool. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we've really covered everything that I had written down. So yeah, any closing thoughts or anything come to mind?
You know what? I just say if you get the chance to come down to the Ozarks over the next couple of 3 months, do it. The fishing is good right now. It's only going to get better. The really good news is a lot of the big boats are gone. There's still a few around, but the lake's a lot calmer, so you can fish a lot more areas. And it's just a great time to be on, Lake of the Ozarks right now. So
do you fish all winter long? I mean, do you fish?
My favorite time is December, January, and February. And I've been retired 4 years, and I go 4 or 5 times a week, whether I'm fishing a tournament or not. That weekend I go.
Man, I'm dreaming of that time. I had 2 weeks off. Well, I actually had 17 days off in a row. And I fished the BFL regional down at Norfolk. I was down there Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. No, let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and left Saturday morning. And I'd fished a couple of days prior to that. And then after I got back, I fished another 4 days on the following week and got a really good taste of what retirement. So I got a plan. So it's like 3 days at the house, 3 days at the house, and 4 days on the water. That's going to be.
There you go.
That's the plan.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's
You just
fair.
have to sell that to your wife or your significant other. That's a good plan.
I'm working on
Well,
it.
see, the closest I got was the 16 weeks of paternity leave that my company.
You were gone for a long time.
4 months off for having.
That's nice.
Yes.
Hey, I'd have another baby.
That's exactly what I said. It's
deal.
time for another kid.
Yeah. I think I'm going to adopt like a 17 and a half, almost 18-year-old.
Yep.
And that way, I just
That
pay for him
flies.
for about 6 months and then ship him off.
Well, changing diapers is a bonding experience.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I can attest. We have grandkids. No, it is not.
Yeah, I know. You get through that once, you don't want to go back and do it again.
No,
We got
I look
5
for
years
grandma.
between ours, and he was out of diapers, out of everything, fully self-sufficient at least at 5. And we decided to have another one.
To go back
Oh
in
my
for
gosh, it
round
was
2.
like starting all over again.
Yeah, I had twins.
You just got all
I
out
got
of the way
them both
at
at the
once.
same time. I don't remember the first 3 years after they were born. I really don't. I know they're healthy and I know they're good kids, so we did something right. That's all I know.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. All right, Mike, we'll let you go. It was
All right, man.
really, really good to meet you and really appreciate you spending some time this evening with
For
us
sure.
and the folks at home here. So
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody else that's on here thinks of something else that they forgot to ask, I'm on Facebook. Messenger me, and I'll get back with you.
Awesome.
So
sounds good. Well, good luck this winter out there on the water, and
thank you. You
maybe
guys
we'll-
too. Good fishing, tight lines.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Take care.
Mike.
Have a good evening. All right, that's a wrap, man. That was good.
That was an awesome guess.
That's
Good find on that one.
Yeah, it's like everybody that fishes, even though we've had several people from Lake of the Ozarks, they've got a little bit different.
Always
twist.
something a little bit different.
Yes,
That's the first time from the Ozarks we've heard speed crawl, I think, though.
I like that. That's my man there. He's talking
That's right,
speed crawl
that's
down
right.
there.
We got any more comments? We kind of stopped scrolling there for a little bit.
Yes, Ken said he's been through 11 bags of speed crawls. Only a few certain colors left. Man, I'm a June bug, green pumpkin, sprayed grass. Maybe. I think that's it.
You can have all the June bug you want. I'll sell you all my June bugs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we're going to Duck Creek.
No, they're just they buy June bug in a lot of
I'm
places.
a green pumpkin and then black neon.
Black neon. Well, that's okay. So you're not too far off of June bug a little bit. Yeah, Phil. I plan on getting down there to do the smallmouth thing on Clearwater this winter. I want to get down there and check that out. We don't have a lot of places to catch good quality smallmouth around here, and that's it's like an hour and 40-minute drive. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's a haul. It doesn't seem like it, but
I mean, that's Piedmont.
yeah, it is a haul. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get in on that. Maybe we'll have to jump in the boat again. I got to fish with Phil's. The only time I fished Clearwater was with Phil. Phil took me out there.
Oh,
It's been
awesome.
like a year ago, I think. We had a fun day.
Does he live over that way?
I think he's got it. It's a good solid drive for him too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good solid.
So I got a
drive for him.
buddy that's got a cabin in Piedmont. That wouldn't be a bad weekend. Just like drag the boat over there, stay at the cabin, and then
That would be fun. Yeah, Ricky's been trying to get me to come down there and jump in the boat with him. He has those Clearwater night tournaments. They're like 7-1.
oh Lord,
And I'm like, dude, I like the ideal, but I don't think I can drive an hour and 40, fish for 7 hours, and then drive an
in the
hour
middle of
and
the night
40 back.
on those roads,
Yes.
because those aren't the best roads in America.
Yeah. And then I think there's little short tournaments too. And I don't know. That's just a little bit too far. I kind of got a rule where I like to double the amount of fishing time for the drive. It's just a loose rule.
Well, yeah, it is a very loose rule because remember we talked about that paternity leave that I got? Remember those night tournaments that we went over and decided to fish
Yeah.
when the bridge was closed and we had a 2.5 hour drive to Cedar, no matter which way we shook it.
Yeah.
I think we made like 4 or 5 trips over there, and I think we took 12 different routes to cut off 5 minutes each time.
Yeah, I'm glad that's over with. Hopefully. I mean, that
Oh.
river can get up at any time.
Yeah, that was a bad deal. middle of my paternity leave, the river.
Tim's out of here, man. Thanks for stopping by, man. Good luck with the editing. I know all about the editing.
I'm learning all about it, so
it's just nonstop editing all the time. I got a couple videos coming out this week. I got the day 2 recap of the Norfolk Lake Regionals going to drop Wednesday, and then I got a really cool video Friday. I took out the Headin' Super Spook Boyo, and
I saw you caught a big.
That wasn't the only one I caught on it.
A big.
Yeah, I got to give it. I think you guys will like this video.
That's
it's got some pretty good
full-grown
fish
model.
catches on it, and I kind of break the bait down. And it's a one man, one bait, one lake. It's topwater, walking topwater baits. Just took a few topwater baits out there. I mean, that's what I fished, and
that dude's a little guy too. That
it is.
Boyo.
It's different. It's got a really. It doesn't go forward as much as it goes to the side, and it's got a real stiff action. It's kind of like it doesn't drift. It's real tight. It's real crisp.
You can almost just sit there and right in one spot.
Yeah, you can. I think
maybe a good springtime bait.
It's a good fall bait too. I thought it was pretty cool. It cashed really well for the size of the bait, and
it's not like a half. It's a half ounce, 5/8.
I don't know. I don't think it's 5/8. It might be a half ounce. It's kind of a one knocker, but it seems like it's got different plastic. You know, it's got a little bit different sound to it. It comes with good hooks. It's got pretty good solid hooks.
I'll try that out. I picked them up the other day and then I put them back. I got a bad habit of that. I pick up.
Grab one. I mean, it's kind of baby for you. You're like a super spook.
Dude, it's got to be like this time of the year. It's got to be.
Yeah, I don't know. They wouldn't hit the shower blow. I threw a shower blow.
Did you?
Yeah, they wouldn't hit the 125. Of course, the wind had kind of died down on that day, but.
What about the pig? They hit the pig, or did you not even take it?
I didn't throw the pig. It's a one man, one bait, one lake. I was just doing topwater walking baits, keeping it simple.
We won't even talk about the pig then.
Next week, I'm like 75% sure this is going to happen. I'm still working on it, but Fred Boom Boom Robanis. So you guys probably heard of that guy. Pretty well-known fisherman. Fred Boom Boom Robanis, Mr. Frog. He was almost on here 2 weeks ago. But his boy had a football game. It didn't work out. And I didn't really bring it up. So I've been in contact with him, trying to get him to come on here. And I reached out to him today, and he's, yes, he said yes. And so we're just.
He's definitely a go. We just got to work out a date.
Right. That's what it is. Those guys like that, their schedule is packed full. They got stuff going on all the time. They're hard to. It's hard to get them to pencil in a little bit.
Well, heck, this is their off time, and
right.
To get that little bit of time that they get to spend with their family.
Totally understand.
Not going to fault any person for spending the extra time with their family. I mean, they're sacrificing their time with family, just like you and I are sacrificing tonight. So it's definitely well worth it to have those guys come on.
Yeah, it's cool. So I'll definitely look for the social media posts to let you guys know that it's a go, but I really want to dive into frogs with him. I mean, we both love frogs, and he's one of the most notorious frog guys.
Top, 4 or 5 in the
yeah. So country. we're gonna kind of maybe nerd out a little bit on frog situations, colors, when to throw, when to not, that kind of stuff. If it happens, so
hopefully he doesn't drop too much juice on us.
Well, with the invention of live fishing, everything's live stream. They let a lot of stuff out now. They're not quite so tight-lipped.
They can't lie about throwing a Megabass 110 and saying it was a Strike King.
No, it's hard to do. So look forward to that. Hopefully that happens. We'll probably dive into swim baits and whatever else comes up.
Swamp Donkey.
What's that?
Cool.
Is that another name? That's another name for this. I can't say that word again.
Oh.
Another name for Bigfoot? I could say Bigfoot. It's different.
I think that's what he's talking. Is that what he's talking about?
I don't know. Rhode Island Swamp Donkey. Yeah, Stephanie, see? She would get it. He looks like Boom Boom's little brother.
I don't know about all that.
Fishes like him, too. You got to see his hook set.
You can't get them in the boat if you don't get them pinned.
You know what? Okay, so here's a tip, and you told me this, and I've been doing this. Fishing a toad. Hold your rod tip like a rivet, horny toad, whatever. Hold your rod tip up while you're reeling it in. That's key. I've been doing that.
Did you not do that before?
Fish. No, I kept it down.
Because it's more comfortable to just reel it down.
Right.
It hurts your arm to reel it like this.
I kept it down and then I set up.
Yep.
But if you hold it up,
You can't set.
you'll set it down. And then, like when the fish bites, you'll drop your rod and then you come back up.
Well,
and you've heard about letting that fish engulf it for a second. You're automatically going to do that. It works. And
for me, it's a like I intentionally handcuff. I call it handcuffing. I intentionally handcuff myself by putting the rod up here and not down at the water level. And you put it up here, and as soon as that, I mean, it's just like buzzbait fishing or anything else. You obviously see it. You see it, the whole thing happen. I mean, I'll still jerk it out of their mouth, but it's basically instead of continuing to reel at this point, you just reel down and then you hit them, or you just drop the rod. But typically, my hand's still going. So, but it's my hookup ratio is
a lot better.
Now, I will say when I throw a hollow body, my hookup ratio is awful. But I'm trying to retrain myself to work a frog up here and not twitch a frog like I do a spook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I'm working on. But I don't throw a slow frog much until we're about to get into slow frog season.
Well, here's the thing that's tricky about all this top water fishing stuff. So spook, like you said, you're walking the dog with your rod tip kind of low. Okay. And then you make that kind of sweeping hook set. You don't have to jack them with the spook. You know, you got braid on there.
Mm-mm.
You just kind of got to pull into them. Doing that same thing with frog. You can't just sweep set with frog. You're not gonna get. They have big gangster hooks on them. You got to jack them. So you're gonna miss. Yeah, Phil, that's right. Reaction Innovation Swamp Doggies frog discontinued. Rich from Hellabass, I think that's one of his favorite frogs. I've heard him talk about that before. But yeah, so you got to remember what topwater you have in your hand based on your hook set, because that's real critical. and I do that every time. I usually miss the first couple bites that hit a toad or a frog almost every time. I'm either setting to the side or
not a chance.
Straight braid, baby. Straight braid.
55, 65, and
I'm 50. He's usually 65.
Depending. I'm 50 on a frog.
You're 50 on a frog. Okay, I'm 50 on a frog too.
The only reason I'm 50 on a frog is I'll spool 65.
Okay.
On a cast, I'll spool 65.
So you can fit more 50.
I can fit more on there, and I haven't broke 50 yet.
Yeah. On a walking bait, I like 40. 30 to 40.
I'm at 50 on a walking bait because I'm cheap and I don't buy braid every year. I usually flip it every year, but 50 has that little bit of memory, so it doesn't wrap around your tip as bad. 65 same way. The higher, it's not that it has memory; it just has more. It's more rigid. And also, when you're walking that bait, like 30 or 40, for me, it gets wrapped up in the hooks all the time, and I'm fighting it more than anything.
Look at this, Mike Russell coming in the last minute with some useless stoner knowledge.
Yeah.
Did you know 90% of Reaction Innovation names are made by women?
I did not know that, but thank you for.
That's kind of self-deprecating, I believe.
Yeah.
Some of those names are
spice.
I would have thought it would have been the other way. I thought it would have been like a bunch of college guys sitting around, making up.
That's
names.
Like a drunken college night naming.
Exactly.
Those baits.
That one looks like tramp stamp.
Oh, I don't even know if we could say the other ones.
There's a bunch of them. So the one color that we can't say is called Dirty Sanchez. And I don't know if I've referenced this before, but me and my buddy Jerry call it Jaime. And the reason we call it Jaime was we were fishing together a couple of years ago, and Jerry's from California. And he said he went to school with a guy. His last name was Jaime. And wait, I'm getting this story mixed up. Dirty Sanchez. Yeah, Jaime. Okay, so the guy's name was Jaime Sanchez, and he's kind of a crusty feller. So we just started calling it Jaime. So if you ever hear me talking about flipping Jaime,
that's a color.
It's a Dirty Sanchez Sweet Beaver. That's the color. Yep. So little inside
Sweet
information.
Beaver, there. Kinky Beaver.
Yeah. We got
Spicy Beaver.
We got a few little inside names. We got the
Yeah.
whistle pig, but we're not talking about the whistle pig.
Nope.
I
I can't even believe you said the whistle part of the whistle pig, but whistle
Yeah.
pig.
Whistle
Pig.
pig. Mike said it's a true story. I believe it. Yeah, Phil, I always missed the first one too. And thanks for sending those lure retrievers, Phil. Really appreciate it. We'll do a giveaway on those sometime within the next couple weeks. And they look. Did you?
I didn't get a good look at
Okay,
them.
pull them out. Let's show
There's
them.
two
off
of
real
them
quick.
here,
There's two of
so-
them. Yeah.
Got some stickers, of course. Ow.
So the company, Phil's company is called Premier Machine and Tool LLC out of Mayfield, Kentucky. So this is a local guy here. This is the 44 mag lure retriever.
It's got some meat to it.
It's got some meat to it.
You don't want to get hit in the head with that one.
I'll open it up so you guys can see it. I think it's pretty cool.
1 pound weight, stainless steel, made in the good old USA.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. So this, when I saw this, I'm like, this was going to go perfectly on the auto retrieve system that Doug makes because it comes with a hound dog, but I like this much better. This is 1 pound. I got to be careful holding this over my laptop. You know, it's got the typical line clip there, but it's got chains on the back. So it's just going to grab more. It's going to get in those hooks and rip that stuff off of there. It's got a hole right there to run your line through. It's beefy. It's real compact too, which is kind of what I like about it. But he sent some of these for a giveaway, so we will be doing a giveaway here next couple weeks on this thing. Really nice. So yeah, if you want to get online, check him out, give him a look. Really appreciate that stuff. This is really cool. It's well made. It's smooth. It's cold too. It feels good. Like on a hot summer day, if you put this thing up against your cheeks, it's going to drop your body temperature like 5 degrees.
Guaranteed.
True story.
Guaranteed. Hold on before
True
you put
story.
that.
Okay. You want to rub on it too?
I want to see this thing. This thing is solid, guys.
Okay, so Andy says they're good lure retrievers. And do the lure retrievers work well? And then Stephanie says, do they tingle your line really bad? Okay, so I've used a lure retriever like a hound dog type retriever for, off and on for a while. But, the problem I have is it's always in storage. And when I get hung up, I am too far away from, my storage compartment to get to it most of the time. And then if you get it out, it seems like it's always in the way. It's kind of laying there. So Doug Cheatham, you've seen him on here before. If you guys have been on the stream, Auto Retrieve, super, super nice guy. He makes a product called Auto Retrieve. And I mentioned it when we were talking to Mike, but if you haven't checked that out and you're interested in getting some kind of lure retrieval system, that's the best one that I've seen. I mounted one on my boat about 4 months ago and I use it all the time. It's underneath the deck. It retrieves all the rope and it holds that lure retriever tight. So it's not flopping around and it's right there. You pull it off, you use it, let it go. It goes right back down there. It's pretty sweet. And I use them all the time. I mean, I have lost just a handful of things since I got that. I would have lost 20 times this stuff if I wouldn't have had that thing. So they do work. They are worth the money. And the thing with a lure retriever, Stephanie mentioned, does it tingle your line? Doug showed me the trick is to keep your line tight. When you clip this on your line, if you've got slack in your line, this thing's going to spin. This thing may actually go down pretty good.
Violent.
I think that's going to go down a lot straighter than like a hound dog.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so compact. So I'd say this is going to cut down on line retreat or line twist a lot. But if you keep your line tight, it will slide right down your line and your line won't twist. But if you've got slack in your line, it's going to make your line twirl. So the whole key is keeping that line tight while this is sliding down. And they work great.
So for me, I still have old hand reel, just an old busted Abu Garcia reel from when I was a kid. And it's just laying on the front of my deck. So I need to get in contact with Doug over Auto Trieve and get me one. But that's the biggest line tangle is that for me. Like, got a crankbait at 18, 19 foot. I get it off and then I'm pulling it up and then I got line from my my hound dog. I got line from my
Right.
fishing rod. It's just a jumbled mess. And typically at that point, I just cut my crankbait off. I'm going to try to retie anyway, just because that's a good practice to get into after you get hung up. But yeah, it's just usually a mess. And like Gabe said, it's always my lure retriever is always in the way. I have a little compartment that I keep it in. It's not a compartment; it's up under my trolling motor mount in my John boat. But rough day, it's always halfway down on the deck, and I'm kicking it, or it gets tangled up in my rod. So yeah, it's
I mean, you can put it down there in your recessed foot pedal tray.
Oh, no,
but it's in the way.
Yeah.
And if you got an Ultrex, it shuts it off when it's on spotlight.
yeah. I think this with the auto Trieve is like a 1-2 punch.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Or a 44 mag punch.
Ooh, that's like a commercial, man. That's tight, dude. You
Yeah.
just come up with that?
I did.
Oh, that's impressive.
I
man.
did.
That's why we're sitting here doing this together.
Yeah, and this is like the Ozarks. You got some
it works on everything. It works on jigs,
jet skiers.
you're talking about like a possible weapon. You're getting violent.
You just swing that over your head and
It's Halloween.
Yep.
No, but that for real. The biggest problem with the lure retriever is what he was talking about. When you got all that line out and you have to wrap it up, it gets all in your stuff. That's what's cool about that auto retrieve, because it retracts as you're pulling it in. It just kind of goes in the bottom of the boat. It's pretty sweet. But
Andy, to your point, that's basically the auto Trieve just mounted to your boat.
yeah, it's easier. It's a whole
You
lot
had a
better.
dog leash for your tow rope, for not your tow rope, but your like tie off rope.
Yeah, I use the dog leash to tie my boat to
You
the
still
dock.
use that?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've had that thing forever. It doesn't retract anymore, but I still use it.
Still got a rope in
Yeah,
it.
that's a way to go, man. I use it all the time. Our John boats, they don't weigh a whole lot, so we don't need a really big rope.
Phil, I did that the other day. I pulled up an entire brush pile and I didn't have one single crankbait on it. So I looked, I promise.
Maybe we need that the pole like Mike has, because
Man, you know,
a Vixen.
you know how many times I've pulled up brush piles and not had
Nothing on
anything
there.
on it, but I know there's one particular brush pile that's got like 12 of my crankbaits in there.
Really?
Oh gosh, every time I and something about it, I can feel it, and it's one of those where I've debated getting the 18-foot pole. Actually, I'm going to make my own. I have all the parts for it, but I just never committed to doing it. But it's that just enough where sometimes a hound dog doesn't work because you can't get to the angle you need or something, or it's wedged in between your rocks. And that one where you can get down there and kind of move everything out of the way.
Yeah.
So
that right there, I like.
That's
that,
going to
man.
get in the rocks. So
It's going to get in the rocks. It's going to get in the tight places, and then the chain's going to get in the little crevices. This is pretty cool, man. I'm kind of digging this. In fact, I'm going to cut my hound dog off the auto Trieve and put this on there like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So next time I go out. Yeah, and he said that's why he made it so compact like this. It keeps it closer to the line, less line twist. So pretty cool product. I guess that's all we got for you guys. It's been
it was a
fun,
good
man.
stream.
It's a good
We
stream.
went from lure retrievers to speed crawls to Daiwas and Corrados and Lake of the Ozarks. Man, it was a good
It's a
stream.
good time. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And if you got any guests you guys would like to see, go ahead and shoot those after the stream. Shoot those in the comment sections.
For sure.
And because this is the time of year where some people start becoming available, and I'll do my best to try to shoot a
some of
message out
them
to
we
those
know
guys.
that are not going to come on our little podcast, but we've been surprised before. I mean,
You just never know.
Mark Menendez, Dion Hibden. I mean, we had a classic champ, Forest Wood Cup champ. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing. What's his name? Sean Hurst.
Yes, biologist for Southern Illinois.
Yeah. I know several people. Fluke Master's a good idea, Andy. I sent a text to him, and he's going to come back on the live stream. So if you guys don't know, he's the fisheries biologist for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and he's his territory is Jackson County, which is Cedar and Kincaid and those lakes over there. And he also does, I think he does Wren Lake. He does another lake there. But
No, he does. I don't think he's got
not
Wren.
Wren.
No,
it's another lake up there.
because we always had questions about Ren, and he didn't.
Okay.
He knew some information. He knows all the information about it, but that wasn't part of his assignment. I don't believe. I could be completely off base on that one.
You might
but
be right. There was an extra.
There was another lake up
lake.
there that is part of his. It was Kincaid, Cedar. Obviously, maybe it was Crab.
Okay.
I guess it was part of Crab. Maybe.
Okay, but and he's been on. He does like Devil's Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So he's real informed on like the health of the fisheries over there. They do shocking surveys and stuff. He's a really good guest, but he has said, yeah, he'd love to come back on the live stream. So we're just trying to work out a date on that. So that's going to be a really cool guest. And got a couple more people that I'm working on for you guys. So it just takes time.
And if we don't have a guest, you get to see our two ugly mugs.
We're going to bring Dion back again too.
We're going to have story time with Dion.
Story time with Dion.
We got 2 straight hours of just stories.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Menendez again too. It's been like 6 months since he's been on here.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to him about what his plans are, next year and all those kind of stuff.
I'd like to see
the health of Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, the health of Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, and then whenever Terry Bolton gets some good internet service, we're going to
he's building a house right now, isn't he?
He's building a house. Yeah, his
living out of
internet's
his
just
camper.
Crappy, so he's a good one to talk to. He's got a lot of history. I was thinking about Westmoreland, not Westmoreland, Moorhead, Dan Moorhead. It's a couple of those Kentucky Lake guys that have been doing it for a long time down there. I like to, we've got a lot of good Lake of the Ozarks guys. Start touching on some of the Kentucky Lake guys. He said Mark just got married. Cool. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next Monday.
Keep Aaron Martins in your prayers, guys.
Yes. Say a prayer for Aaron Martins. See ya.
See you guys.